Hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Ryan.
And it's the Dim Carnival, and you may notice it's a little bit of a different sound because there's one of us is not here. Because we lied to you, and we're not sorry that we tricked you, because we are going to not do Tunnel of Love this week. We're going to do Tunnel of Love next week because we had to break into our programming because of a lot of logistical things, but also because Ryan and I happily went to go see the Wicked Clowns in concert, and we want to tell you about it because it was a real blast.
Hell yeah, it was, man. What a good time.
Ryan, I want to know, were you... Because I remember the last couple times that you saw Insane Clown Posse in concert, you were maybe a little bit cool for school, and, you know, maybe thinking a little bit about, you know, being too old for this, and you weren't... but then you ended up getting really into it every time. But my question for you is, do you feel like this time was different? Were you worried that you weren't going to have a good time going in?
Wow, man, what an interesting question. So,
because we're old and we don't like going to concerts in general.
Well, what I want to say is, I want to start off by saying is that, yes, you're correct, that we are old. We are not as old as Joe and Joey, the Insane Clown Posse. Those gentlemen are fucking old. And if I was going into this concert, I was actually worried about it. Yes. And I'll say that, so I mentioned before that I saw ICP a few times together, in a short span of time, or over like 1 or 2 years. I think I saw them 4 times. And I don't know what the average, like non-Detroit juggalo, I don't know how many times they see ICP, if it's like a fish situation where they just follow them around.
It's a fish situation.
That kind of thing. But I feel like I've seen them kind of a lot. Like I felt like I had seen them a lot before I even met you. And so how many times have we seen them together? Is this our third or fourth time together? Third time.
Third.
Yeah. So now, actually, since the gathering of the Juggalos in 2001, the first one, I've seen, every time I've seen ICP has been with you. So 3 times I've seen them. And I would say that each of those times I was worried for one reason or another about going to the show. I was worried going with you for the first time, because I thought I was over the band. I wanted to go on to, I thought a lot of myself and listening to like a lot of punk rock or whatever. Like this music was too silly for me at that time in my life. Like no diss. But
no diss to who?
I don't know, people who myself,
like the music,
okay. You know, right. Or just whatever. Like, so that was an example. That show in San Francisco was an example of where I thought that I was over the music, but it really turns out that, God damn it, that as soon as that first bar hit as soon as those clowns came out or whatever it was, the lights came up, I had to run straight to the front and I had to be in the soda and all of that. So then we saw him in San Jose, and I would say that would be the time when I was actually really most concerned about whether or not I would enjoy the show. And when we walked in, I think Boondocks was on, and I was like, yeah, I just don't know if this is for me anymore. And I was standing in the back leaning against the wall. And then ICP came out, and god damn it, what happens? Run straight to the front. Couldn't resist it. And I remember you were making fun of me for it because it happened again or whatever. And so now this time here, and now it's been 10 years or whatever. I don't even know how long ago that was that we saw him in San Jose. 2008 maybe, so almost 10 years ago. Yeah. So I was like, same thing, like, oh shit, man, now I'm old. But these dudes are old, and the reason why I was worried this time is because I was worried that I was going to have that situation that maybe some of us have had where a band that you see when you're real young, you know, or a band that you're super into, and then you come across them later and they're like really old, or maybe they're dead now. Like
you come across you go to see a band and maybe they're dead,
and one of them's dead. You know?
Yeah, it's really weird. It's very awkward all the time.
What I'm saying is we're getting to that age, Bill, where bands that we cared about, or artists or celebrities or whatever, people that were in the eye, they're gonna start dying. And so, and I had seen pictures. Actually, what I'm basing this off of is a video that ICP posted It's called a Cypher, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an 8-minute video.
Yeah.
And
It's a cipher.
yeah, it's a cipher. But Violent J in that video, he doesn't even know the words,
Mm-hmm.
or he's just not trying to say them. But like when they cut to clips of him, his mouth is not moving in a lot of those shots. Or if it is, he's just going, you know, he's not, whatever. And I don't know, now looking back, at the time that made me really concerned. Going into the show, I was like, is he like old now? Is he going to just be standing there? Is it going to be like two washed up old dudes, you know, that I feel sorry for or whatever? Boy, couldn't have been more wrong, man.
What I thought was interesting was before the show started, you were like, man, I've been watching some videos from this tour. I don't think they move around a lot on stage anymore.
Yep. That's exactly what I was talking about, because I don't know what was giving me that impression, man. I saw some little clips of videos on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and then I saw a couple of videos that were links or YouTube things that went to other like more current stuff. And Jay, I gotta say, man, Jay's looking pretty. he's looking like he's had a go of this life, man. He's been living it to the fullest.
Sure.
And so I want to recommend people watch that Cypher video because I think it's hilarious. Violent J's part is wonderful. But it is kind of funny to me. And then there's another video that I saw from that, which I think is contemporary or like current, where he's talking about his father and, the relationship that he had with his dad. And Jump Steady and his sister are also on the track, and his kids, I think, are in the track as well, in the video. And so as a person who grew up not knowing anything and there being a lot of mystery, surrounding this band when I first came, to know them, that stuff is intensely interesting to me to know, that stuff that's going on. But anyway, so I encourage anybody to check out those videos if they haven't watched them. But yeah, that's what I was worried about. I could have been more wrong, man. These dudes are fucking spry. They have an enviable amount of energy as a dude who, was in a short-lived punk rock band.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like they really, and actually I just re-listened to this chapter in his audiobook where he's like, when he was working security at St. Andrew's Hall and all these bands would come through and there was two different types of bands. And he would talk about these local bands that would just stand there and play their songs and be like, hey, our name is whatever, And I was like, damn, man, like I really could have done a lot better when I was in the band about how excited I was to actually be there. But, it's hard when you're, I don't know.
You gotta be cool.
It's hard to be cool when you're nervous and we want to do a good job or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's what
you're right.
people's experience
You're totally
is.
right.
I remember when the opening bands were coming out, and you could see the ICP's stage set up, covered but back there, and it was like, oh man, that looks good, it's like you could see it was kind of like a games, like board games kind of theme. So then whenever the ICP, they do the whole curtain thing just like they always do. They taped up like trash bags or something, make sure, because there was no curtain, right, that you couldn't see what they were doing. Which is their thing, get the whole stage set up and they make a grand entrance. And I'm hoping that I think you'll do a much more poetic job of describing how these dudes come out and then the impact of it.
Yeah, it was really incredible. So I like how. Well, I want you to finish your thought that I cut off of you not being able to be more wrong.
Oh, that their attention to detail, the amount of effort that they're putting into it. It's not a token effort. They're not old and run down. They are fucking bringing. If they are. They're bringing the fucking fire from their soul to invigorate. If there was 100 people there, or I don't know how many. Oh, you think it was maybe like 500 people there, something like that.
Somewhere between 100 and 500.
Yeah. Well, so I'd say there's a few hundred people there, but when we first got there, it was pretty empty. So
and I wasn't concerned. I was like stoked. I texted you and I was like, if it stays this level of not full, this is going to be the greatest concert of all time, and we're going to get completely soaked.
It's going to be like a living room ICP concert.
Yeah, but it filled up at the end, and a lot of people came for Attila, which is weird, and we don't necessarily have to talk about that, but it stayed pretty full. And then like I don't know if you noticed, but like the balcony was like completely packed for the whole ICP show.
Yep. Yeah, all I'll say about Attila is it's tough to be the opening band for Metallica, right? Like James Hetfield tells that story in a documentary or whatever of like no band that toured with Metallica when they started would ever get any respect from the crowd. They just wanted to see Metallica. So I'm glad that there were people that were there for Attila, because it made I had a great time watching the crowd. I'm not super into that band, not really into that like genre or style of music, but I feel like they were pretty good at it for what they, if you're into it, you probably like Attila. And their fans were super fun. People were the crowd was pretty into it, having a good time. So
I thought that Attila being there, I thought that their fans sort of kept it from being like a typical like full on ICP / Psychopathic Records show, in the sense of like in the past when I've gone to like ICP shows, like just everyone's like super happy to be there and like everyone's like super stoked to just like be around other people and I don't know if it's Attila or if it's like a Los Angeles thing that like, people weren't necessarily, I don't know.
As friendly,
it was a little
welcoming. It wasn't, that crowd didn't feel like a typical ICP show to me.
So the lights went down and some workers came out, people dressed like sort of, delivery men, and they wheeled out a giant wrapped package, big present. And, they put it down on the stage, and then they brought out another one. They put it down on the stage, and it took a while. And obviously, like, your thought immediately is that Insane Clown Posse is in there, and they're going to bust out of these packages. And it was funny. A friend of mine, Erin, came along, and she didn't really know anything about ICP, to the extent where I texted her. I was like, "You want to go to Insane Clown Posse show?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And I was like, "Bring a change of clothes and a baggie for your phone." And she's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because they throw soda everywhere." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Do you know anything about ICP?" And she's like, "I've read some of the terminology." And then so they brought out the first package, and then they brought out the second package, and Erin turns to me, and she's like, "Are they going to bring out 3 of them?" And I was like, "No, just 2. She's like, "There's only 2 people in the band." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, I don't know anything about them." So the 2 packages were out, and then the lights went red, and then 2 people came out in pajamas. Sort of, it wasn't readily apparent at first that they were supposed to be necessarily pajamas. They just like looked like big goofy costumes that like, band kids would wear or whatever.
Sorry, yes, you're correct. It was ambiguous.
It was 2 adults in weird floppy snuggies or whatever. Yeah. And they were like looking around the boxes, and at first what I thought was happening was like the lights are red, there's kind of creepy music playing. I thought they were hiding from some monsters or something in a house. Cause they kept peeking around the corners and stuff, but they were just pantomiming, looking at these big packages, and they were kids, and it was their birthday or Christmas or something. And these are presents for them. So they finally they get the music cue, and they rip open the packages, and they reveal 2 gigantic action figure boxes, Shaggy and Violent J, and they're inside the action figure packages, frozen. And there's lights inside the action figure packages, so you can see them, and it looks super cool. And then the kids run away, and then the music wakes up Shaggy and Jay, and they sort of feel around the box, and they're trying to get out. And then they bust out of the front of the boxes, and the fronts of the boxes fall away, and they jump out, and they launch right into Toy Box, your favorite ICP song of all time.
I fucking hit the roof, man. It was so awesome. I couldn't believe it.
And Toy Box was like, because if anyone is listening that has seen an ICP show before, if anyone who isn't listening, I apologize for spoilers or whatever, but they play, like, they just do like a big medley. Like when you go to see ICP, they make sure that you're getting your absolute money's worth, and they're going to play like 30 songs without stopping, and they're going to throw soda everywhere, and they're going to play for an hour or so, and then just get out of there. But Toy Box was one of the few songs that they actually played like all of Toy Box.
Well, I'm sorry I have to intervene and correct you, but
they played most of Toy Box.
They actually did skip the middle verse, so yeah, they did the first verse and jumped straight to the change. That's not a toy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have been more excited when they jumped straight to the last verse. I was like, oh, that's right, they're gonna do a medley. Like I'm gonna get so many great songs. Just like you were saying, like, so I didn't immediately remember that. And so I was excited that they were going to do apparently some, interesting songs.
Mm-hmm. And interesting songs they did. But they played just a bunch of bangers, very few low points in the set, but it was great. They started off being sort of stingy with the Faygo, and
Right.
I thought I was at first thinking because they had the two big set pieces filled with the 2 liters, and since they used only like 1 or 2 2 liters throughout the first like 2 songs, I was thinking like, oh, maybe that's all the soda they have at this point in the tour. Like the tour's been going on for a while, they're not selling out theaters at the rate they used to. I know that they always brag about like taking a loss when they go on tour, but I thought, oh, maybe they're not bringing so much Faygo with them this time. But I was really wrong, and I'm very glad about that, because they were just drawing it out, because they're consummate professionals and they know how to tell a story with soda.
Yeah, I thought the same thing with the two. It was like a popcorn bucket
And like a Slurpee, like an icy.
Yeah, an icy, and I was
said
like,
poop corn.
Right, and I was like, oh, that's a fair amount of soda. Like that's like seems like maybe that's less than I thought. But I felt the same thing. But then they kept restocking it over the course of the night. So the first time I saw them restock it, I was like, oh, we're in for it. Like they're not shortchanging us there.
Yes.
But yeah, so they play. I was trying to remember, see how many songs we can remember that they played. Because they did Hocus Pocus, they did Chicken Huntin', the Slaughterhouse remix. We did say Toy Box. They did Prom Queen, which was timely because at the time we saw the show was right after we recorded the first episode of Tunnel of Love, which will go up next week.
They played $50.
Oh my God, yes, they played $50. They did Ned Game.
Yes, I mean we could probably just go to like setlist.org or whatever.
Okay, that's a fair point. We won't spend a lot of time on it though. But so you go back, check the set list, and I'm sure they do the same exact. I mean, it's like like you said, it's like a programmed 1 hour exactly set. They closed out on what is probably I think I heard you allege this, and I'm pretty sure I agree. Currently their best possible last song for a concert.
Bang Pow Boom.
Yeah, Bang Pow Boom.
It's so good. It's very, very good. It's almost like they wrote the song to be played simultaneously with throwing soda everywhere.
Right, with Faygo Geddon. Yeah,
so good though.
And that's
so good.
That's one of the newer songs, that I'm actually familiar with. I don't really know when that came out, but I stopped listening after Hell's Pit.
Right. They did Halls of Illusions was really good.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the Faygo ramped up. So they actually, and then they even took like a Faygo break. This was one thing that is cool that I learned later, is that you could purchase a special experience pass level, like a VIP. I know they had a VIP level, but it's like a VIP plus or whatever, where at the beginning, before the show, you get to do a meet and greet with Jay and Shags and get a photo taken. And then that's who all of those people were at the end. You get to go up on stage with ICP and participate in throwing soda on and hang out with them for like 2 songs.
Yeah.
Which seems like a pretty rad. I don't know how much that costs, whatever it costs. Like
it was $100, which I think is a good deal. Because I told you about it before the show. I was like, for $100 you can get all this, and you're like, well, I've been on stage with ICP, it's fine.
I remember that now, but I was also intoxicated, so
right.
But yeah, reading about it later, I was like, well, that seems like a really good idea. I don't think that I would have done it. In fact, I know that I wouldn't have done it, but I am jealous that Peter does have a mark photo with ICP, and you got to take photos with them as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I haven't had that opportunity. I met them, I touched them,
yes,
or whatever, but not like in a personal like, hey, what's up,
Well, next time.
Yeah. So next time, something to look forward to.
Yeah. So, and it's not just the meet and greet and the ticket to the show, like, because I mean, like, our tickets to the show were like almost like over $40 just to like get to the show.
Yeah.
So it's like the meet and greet and the get to go on stage, but also you get like a t-shirt and a pin. Like,
oh really? I didn't.
Yeah. Like it's like really good value, honestly, because we bought shirts.
Yeah, that's right. Some amazing fucking shirts, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super happy. We ended up getting the same one, right? The same Shaggy Two Dope or Violent J.
Yeah, we got the same Violent J Moon Salt shirt. That's for this Slamfest, so that's cool also. And I also got the Shaggy shirt. So there are two shirts. There's a yellow one that has a drawing of Shaggy doing a leg drop like an old like wrestling poster, and it says I survived an atomic leg drop from Shaggy 2 Dope at Slamfest 18. And then there's a I survived a moonsault from Violent J one that's red. And they're both great. And luckily they both have enormous hatchet men all across the backs of them, because you need that. You got to have that.
Exactly. Got to let everybody know.
There can be no mistake.
And I guess that's a pretty good indicator of where I'm at, because I couldn't take that shirt off that whole weekend.
Yeah, you wore it like 3 times.
Well, because like we were up there for a wedding, and so there was a lot of wedding stuff that we had to do. We had to keep changing clothes, put on fancy shit. So every opportunity that I had to just wear that shirt, it would only be for like a 2-hour stretch. And so I did wear it for 3 days in a row for 2 hours because I wanted to get the most out of that fucking shirt. And we stopped at my girlfriend and I stopped to eat lunch at Arby's, and I was like, I want to let everybody know I'm gonna see that giant hatchet man on my back that I saw ICP yesterday.
Yeah.
I was happy about it.
Awesome. Very cool. But yeah, I mean, how would you rate your experience at the show? Good? Scale of 1 to 10, 10 out of 10. Would ICP again?
I would say that maybe I was a little bit reluctant to, get up there in the front and get up in the mix. I don't want to fall down and break a hip.
Yeah, you got some soda on you, but not like the customary amount of soda.
Right, like there's no place to stand where you're not going to get soda on you, And so we definitely got splashed a few times. Saw some people take a shot directly to the face with a 2-liter. Yeah, pretty good times. So I'd say, the show, and compared to other shows that I've been to, it's right. They're all floating right around each other, ICP.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe what it boils down to, is that these guys really care about the show. They care about the performance. They care about the experience. They care about our experience as the audience.
Oh, for sure. They're so dedicated to giving you the best value for your money. Like they're not here to waste your time. They're here to perform for you.
Yeah, man. And so what can you say? That you can see them up there giving it their all and having a great time. I said, I don't remember which episode that was on, a recent one, maybe one of the Riddlebox ones, how I was impressed that they could spend so much time together as artists and still have energy, to work with each other and be passionate about this thing that they're doing. It doesn't seem like it's faded at all.
No. And your thought that Jay wouldn't move around a lot was completely unfounded, because he was all over the place.
Yeah, fucking acrobat.
Did a stage dive. And they're just, at this point in their careers, they're so incredible at putting on a show. Like choreography, like they got dance routines, they got like little tricks they do. Like they're so
choreographed parts. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't phone anything in ever under any circumstances.
It's so crazy to think.
I appreciate it.
It's so crazy to think about that. At this point, they probably could, and then maybe there is things that you might notice, the fun things that they've done, if doing the same song over and over and over again together. But there's certain stuff that is specific to this show, like you're saying. So they definitely planned it out, If you can imagine them being on stage and like saying, "Oh, okay, then I'll do this, and then we'll kick step, and then we'll whatever," Yeah. They actually planned that out, like what pose they're going to be in the box, and what that means about them, and their identity. Like, it's every detail like that is very important to them. So the point is that I don't know who would be listening to this that doesn't already want to see ICP or hasn't. But if you have the chance, it's just something that it's something that you have to do. I took my girlfriend. She never listened to any of this music. She doesn't care about ICP. And she loved it. And actually at one point, Violent J was addressing the crowd, and he kind of basically says, like, maybe you didn't know what the fuck you were in for when you walked in the door, but you're all juggalos now. Right. And he laughed, And my girlfriend mentioned that after. She's like, well, I'm a juggalo now. Violent J said so.
It's true.
Yeah.
You can't not have a good time. Like, I invited a couple people who were just like, no, I don't want to go. Like, and I tried to convince them, like, it's really something to see. It's an experience. Like, you're not going to get this experience anywhere else. And some people were still like, nah, I'm cool. But there were a lot of people who expressed interest who weren't able to go this time, and I hope that they'll go next time, because there will definitely be a next time. Like, I'm going to try and go see them like any chance I can. And I think that there's tentative plans for us to go to next year's gathering, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited to be an ICP fan again, or I'm excited to be jazzed about ICP again.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But I highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't done it. If you've been an ICP fan and like you've missed them, that's a bummer. And I know that happens to some people. They just never got a chance. Do what you got to do, man. It's a show you're not going to forget.
Yep, highest possible recommendation.
But bring a change of clothes.
Bring a towel. Watch the shockumentary.
Yes.
As a warm up. Then you'll have some tips and tricks. So wait, Bill, you've seen ICP once without me.
Yeah.
And have you ever painted up?
No. The only time I've ever painted up in ICP paint was when there was one time when I bartended a Halloween party, and I was Violent J, and it was the easiest costume because I had bleached spiked hair at the time, and so I had a Dickies shirt and a pair of Dickies shorts. And so I just painted my face like Violent J, and I looked exactly like him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Were you a Shaggy guy? Did you do your own flavor?
Yeah. So Shaggy, definitely Shaggy. I didn't want to. The first time that I went, my buddy Mark bought a ticket with me. Newman, we called him Newman. So Newman bought a ticket, but then flaked on the show. And I was like, fuck, I'm kind of an introvert. Like, I don't like doing things all the time, where there's crowds and stuff. So, but I pumped myself up. I'm like, nope, I got to go. And I knew I was going to paint my face. I actually made a shirt. I made a T-shirt. I drew it. And it's got a Hatchet Man on one sleeve. And it says ICP and Gothic letters on the other sleeve. And on the front, it says no fans with an ellipses. And on the back it says just juggalos. And so I had this whole thing, and I brought a rubber chicken that I tied to my belt loop, with a shoestring, so that when they knew, I knew they were gonna play chicken hunting, so that I could hold it up and show them that I brought a chicken,
right.
That I had a chicken with me, and everybody loved it, right? In the line inside, people were like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna bring a chicken. That's a great idea." But I painted my face at home in my bathroom, looking in my bathroom mirror, and then I had to drive 30 miles by myself to this concert. And I got there, I wasn't sure exactly, I don't think when the doors opened. I knew that I wanted to be the first person through the door so that I could be in the front. And when I got there, there was 6 people in line. None of those people had face paint on. So I was the first person to arrive at the venue in face paint, and I was mortified. At that point I was second guessing whether I should be there or not. I was like, is this the wrong crowd? I don't know. Is this going to be a bunch of San Diego dickheads, that are going to make fun of this or whatever? I didn't know what to expect. So anyways, the second show I went to was with my friend who introduced me to the band, who was living in Northern California. So I drove up to see them 3 days later in Oakland. And I had painted my face like Shaggy because I thought that my friend Robbie had agreed that he wanted to be Violent J, so that we could have the both of us or whatever. So he did that. But I'm going to go ahead and post. I brought this up because I want to share this picture, try to find an opportunity. There is a picture of me at that show with Robbie. So you could see the whole outfit, the no fans t-shirt, my weird skinny body, holding the chicken with the Shaggy face paint. I'm going to post it on the Instagram account.
So good. Very excited.
And that's the last time that I painted up too, was Oakland.
Yeah. Do you think you ever will again? Halloween or anything?
I mean, if they ask me to, I'll do it. If they're going to invite...
I think the ask is implied.
What I'm saying is I wouldn't be opposed. And you and me might be a good team. And I was thinking, who could Steve, I want to acknowledge that Steve isn't on this call. And I want to thank everybody who stuck with us this long without having his presence, which is sorely missed. But what would Steve, if you assuming you might be Violent J and I'm gonna go with Shaggy 2 Dope, who do you think Steve might paint up as?
John Kickjazz.
John Kickjazz refused to wear paint, refused to cut his 90210 Dylan haircut.
Yeah, greasy. There's a lot of options, honestly. Like, he could do
a straw
like,
cowboy hat.
he could be Boondocks. He could be Anybody Killa. Like, there's options. There's some cool alternate twisted face paints that they do. But there is that official third ICP thing. But I mean, like, I think that you and me as Shaggy, and I don't think Steve would be offended of me and you being Shaggy and Jay, because we've got the body types.
Right. Like, we might be able to pass for them as doubles.
If I still had hair.
Oh, right. That's right. We'll get you a dreadlocks wig.
Yeah. So
you can do the Halls of Illusions, shaking all that dreadlocks around.
Very good. But let's, I think that we should leave it there for now. What do you think?
Sounds good.
But very fun. Again, it was a great experience. Would ICP again. And thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks to Ryan for going, because I wouldn't have had a fraction as good of a time if you hadn't been there. And thanks to everybody again. Thanks to Steve, who he was missed at the show, but we'll get him there. And as always, dimcarnival@gmail.com, dimcarnival on Instagram and Twitter, and we will see you back here next week for the first 4 tracks off of the Tunnel of Love EP, and it's going to be a good time. Kissing in the Tunnel of Love.